Have you ever met people that are constantly talking about their past in a nostalgic type of way? You know, people that talk about their past as if their glory days were behind them. You don't want to fall into that trap. You know, there are people out there that are usually older in life. They're usually like in their 40s and their 50s, and they're constantly reminiscing. You know, they're constantly talking about the glory days, like, oh, when I was in high school, I was on the football team, or oh, when I was in my 20s, I used to be in a rock band and this and that. And it's like, it's good to talk about the past in a positive type of way, but the way that these people talk about the past, it's very negative. It's almost like they're talking about their life like their glory days were behind them and their life is over. And you do not want to fall into that trap. You need to realize that every day that you are alive, that is a gift. Life is beautiful and life is a gift, and you should be striving to make the most out of every day, and you should be striving to make every year better than the last. The reason why most people live in the past is because they don't have goals. They don't have a future to look forward to because they're not working towards anything. And when you're not working towards anything and you're in that idle trap, you know, you fall into a state of depression. And when you're in that state of depression, you're constantly looking towards the past. That's why these people, they end up in their 50s, their 60s, and they're in, you know, toxic marriages, toxic relationships. They struggle with alcoholism. They have poor health. They got a bunch of estranged kids, and they're in this constant state of depression. They're just looking at their past and they're just looking at the old days. And it's, you don't want to fall into that trap. You have to make the most out of every day. You constantly have to be working towards a goal, towards a mission, because life is a gift. Life is beautiful, and God did not put us on earth so that way we could just, you know, waste our life in a time loop. You know, you don't want to be frozen in time. You want to realize that the best days that you have are ahead of you, but you have to put in that work. You can't fall into that trap of just, you know, reminiscing about the past. You have to cultivate the life that you've always wanted to live. And by doing that, you have to make the most out of every day. Don't fall into the nostalgia trap. Don't fall into this trap of, you know, constantly looking back and wishing that you could change your life. You know, it's like I even see young people like this, like guys in their 20s and 30s, you know, creating this type of content that it's very doom and gloom. And, you know, they're constantly talking about their past and how terrible their past was. And, you know, how there's no hope for the future. It's, you know, it's beyond my control. And it's like, bro, you got to realize this, that most people die before they enter the grave. You know, you don't die when you go to the grave. You know, your spirit dies, your soul dies before you enter the grave. And as a child of God, you know, you got to realize that you have life in you, and life is not meant to be wasted by reminiscing or having this victim mentality. You know, you got to realize this, you're not stuck in time. You have the power to create change in your life today, and you got to make the most out of that. Don't fall into the nostalgia trap of constantly reminiscing about the past. Realize this: use today, love today, embrace today, seize the day, and work towards your purpose. You're going to thrive, you're going to prosper. Hope you guys like this video. I'm out.